Thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Today we have 4 of our alumni here. On the top left, we have Dr. Alicia Burns. On the top right, we have Matt Arlt. Bottom left, we have Taylor Sande. And on the bottom right, we have Mark Cassell. First off, I want to thank them all for joining today. If you can give them a round of applause, please. Okie dokie. So to all of our panelists, we have currently a bunch of the 9th through 11th graders, and I think, is it some of the seniors? Any of the seniors? One senior? Cool, we have one senior. They're doing testing, I think, right now. But to start this off, we'll start with you, Alicia. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you work with, where you studied, and what you majored in?
Yeah, so I'm Alicia. I graduated a long time ago from St. George's. I went to University of Puget Sound for undergrad, majored in biochemistry. Didn't think I was going to go to med school, but ended up going to med school at University of Washington, and I was at the Spokane campus, and now I'm currently in internal medicine residency at Dartmouth Health, which is it's affiliated with Dartmouth College, basically up in New Hampshire.
You're muted, Tyson.
You think I'd have this down considering I work on these all the time. Taylor, can you give us a little bit more about yourself, who you work with, where you studied, and what you majored in?
Yeah, so I graduated from St. George's in 2020, so right around when COVID hit. But then I went over to WSU, Washington State, for my undergrad, and I graduated this last December with a degree in mechanical engineering. And then I moved this last January over to Nashville, and I'm working for an electrical manufacturer, Schneider Electric, which, fun fact, I visited St. George's this last winter break with my mom, and I saw that St. George's is actually using our electrical equipment. So I thought that was kind of a cool roundabout.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. Matt, you're up next. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you work with, where you studied, and what you majored in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated St. George's in 2016. I can't see anyone in the audience, but if I know you, nice to see you again. Let's see. So I went to University of Portland for undergrad, studied accounting and finance there. Then I went to Villanova after that over in Philadelphia for my master's program, and started in public accounting right after that. And I currently work at Netflix, where I'm on the content accounting and finance team.
Thank you, Matt. And last but not least, Mark, tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you work with, where you studied, and what you majored in.
Hi, I'm Mark Cassell. I'm an attorney. I graduated in 2009, so that is longer ago than Alicia. I went to undergrad at the University of Washington. I graduated with a degree in chemical engineering, which is really related to the law. I then went to law school at the University of Denver. I've been a lawyer now for 8 years, and I work for myself and with my mom as well, as who's an attorney for Twyford Law Office.
Thank you, Mark. Next question, actually going to go out to you, Mark, as well. So can you give us a little bit more detail on what your role is at the office and what a typical day looks for you?
Sure. So each day is different. It's different kind of being a business owner. And it's something maybe a lot of people don't understand is you go to school and they really don't teach you how to be a business owner. So I had to figure out how to be an attorney and a business owner. So I have 8 other main employees, and we'll have 12 here soon. And so each day is different. I have to run the office. And so generally I'm in court most days for my job, which is not what most attorneys are. So Monday through Friday, I'm in court just about every single day for part of the day or the entire day. And then other than that, I'm on phone calls all the time with my clients or doing Zoom meetings now, and then meeting with my staff and then preparing all the work that actually gets done in court. So each day is different. But then in addition, I'm also trying to do that legal work and managing, the 8 to 12 people that we have here.
Awesome. Thank you. And Matt, how about yourself? What does a typical day look like for you over at Netflix?
Yeah. So if any of y'all are interested in accounting or consulting or finance, I'm sure if you ask the person what they do, you'll get a different answer every time. And that really is the truth. You do something new every day, especially in accounting and finance. So currently at Netflix, I work with a lot of the rollouts of new content, whether it be series or films, specifically original, so stuff that Netflix produces itself. And so a lot of the cost reports, all the costs that flow into basically producing the movie from start to finish, are received by us and our accounting and finance team. So we help basically track all the costs that come in and budget forward for future titles that we hope to roll out and kind of maintain a strategy for Netflix as a whole.
Thank you, Matt. How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm working at Schneider Electric here in Nashville, but I'm a part of the Baltimore sales team. So since I just started, I'm starting on the inside part of sales, but I do support the Baltimore team, so I'll go up there every once in a while. And I mostly work with our distributors. So we're an electrical manufacturing company, so we make all of the equipment, but then we sell through distributors like Graybar or CED. And I'll go up there and I'll help with trainings, but while I'm back here in Nashville, I usually just kind of act as a middleman between our outside sales, distribution, and like manufacturing plants. But it's super awesome. It's a lot of traveling, which was kind of my goal going into a career. I wanted to travel a little bit, and I've only been here for 3 months and I've already gotten a fair share of traveling. So it's a lot of fun.
Very nice, thanks. And Alicia, how about you? What does a quote unquote normal day look like for your line of work?
Yeah, so like Mark, it's very different every day. So for medicine, each stage of your career is going to look very different, and each specialty that you could potentially go into is going to look very different. So right now I'm just finishing my medicine residency, which is 3 years after med school. What we do is we do different clinical rotations month by month. So I could be like 1 week in the critical care unit, or on the hem-onc floors, or working like outpatient in a clinic. And then I have a patient panel that I manage as like their primary care doctor that I manage throughout all of residency. But once you become like an attending physician, your day is going to look a lot different based on what you do. So you could be working like 1 week on, 1 week off, but essentially what it looks like is for inpatient stuff, you have a team, you have a set of patients, usually like 10 to 12 patients. You manage them in the hospital. You go like round on them every day, which means you like go around and talk about everybody, make sure they're getting treated correctly. If there's problems, figure out what the problem is clinically, and then try to get them good care as an outpatient. But there's a lot of other stuff that you can do as a doctor. It's very versatile as a degree once you get out of training.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. So kind of opening up to all 4 of you now, when you look back in high school and you now look at what you're doing today, is this what you expected that you're going to be doing?
Definitely not. If you asked me 5 years ago, I was going to be a veterinarian, matter of fact. So, and now I'm working in the electrical industry, so I think it can definitely change.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah. I was gonna say I had a similar path. I actually started. Actually, I'll start from in 8th grade. I'm not sure where y'all started at, but remember in Mr. Hutchinson's class we had a project where we had to choose like a field in science and a college, and we had to kind of build out this life path, if you will, for where we hope to be in college and the years after. And I remember from that project up until the start of my undergrad, I was convinced I wanted to be cardiothoracic surgeon or some sort of surgeon. I didn't really know, but I had a pre-med track nonetheless at UP. I actually got the schedule. Everything was built out. I was ready to go. And then I had some last minute conversations with some family friends, parents at St. George's who were doctors, and just kind of had some Q&A and just understood more about what they did, and ultimately decided to switch out of medicine and switched into more of like a broad business major where I could get experience in marketing, finance, accounting. And so I completely 180'd, not in medical at all. And so yeah, just I feel like don't feel locked in. When you're starting out, it really can change and pivot. So be open to that.
Mark, Alicia, how about yourselves?
And there's no chance in high school I would have told you I was going to be a lawyer. My mom was a lawyer, and I was like, I'm not going to be a lawyer. And you also get into this situation where a lot of people tell you what you're good at. And I think that's a difficulty of high school. People are like, oh, well, you love chemistry, you love math, right? So I actually got a minor in math when I went to undergrad, but they're like, oh, you'll love chemical engineering. I was like, oh, obviously, that's what I want to do. I love math. I did advanced math. That's definitely the way to go. And then when I got too far into chemical engineering to switch, I was already in year 3 when I realized, like, I don't want to do chemical engineering. It's not actually chemistry, which is something they never tell you until you're already in year 3. You do chemistry up into that point, but chemical engineering ended up being really process engineering and managing. And sometimes you like sit in a room of a reactor and you're just sitting there watching a panel and hoping something doesn't blow up. And I was like, that's not what I wanted to do. Or like one of the jobs that I got offered was to go to Papua New Guinea. And originally I was like, oh, that's really cool if I was single, where I don't want to go there for 2 years of 2 months on and 2 months off. And so a lot of the things I think they tell you before you go to college, you don't have the full breadth to understand like what it means. All I knew is I liked chemistry and math. And so I thought that's what I was going to do. So definitely I did not think I was going to be a lawyer, but as things progressed and you see like what you like and what you can do with different degrees, your undergrad degree does not really make any determination. It's not dispositive of what you end up doing with your career for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I second that. I had no idea what I wanted to do in high school. But my parents are both electrical engineers. They wanted me to do something in science. That's what they told me. I was always good at science. And so that's what ended up getting me a biochemistry degree. But throughout college, it was like a process of discovery. I was like, oh, I'll get a biochem degree and go do a PhD or something like that. And then I did some research in like the hard sciences, and I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I, similar to Mark, had no idea I would end up in medicine at all in high school. I saw like my classmates that I knew were going to end up in medicine, and I was like, oh, that's not going to be me, you know? But here we are. I think what Matt was saying too is really important. You should talk to people, like if you think you're interested in a career, you should talk to people that are in that career field, kind of like what you guys are listening to today, but you guys have a lot of resources at St. George's with people in different careers. So I would chat with as many people as you can.
Thank you. So when you look at your jobs now, is it what you expected that it was going to be when you went for your terminal degree that you all have right now, or whatever degree you have? It's like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I expected my job was going to be today.
I can start, I guess. No. So the thing about higher education, they don't tell you, like, for example, law school doesn't teach you to be a lawyer. It doesn't at all, which is crazy. It teaches you how to learn and think and be able to look things up. So I didn't think this was necessarily what it would be. I did at least have a resource, you know, my mom practices, so I had more information than others. But no, I didn't expect that a large percentage of my job would be running a business, right? So that's completely different. That's something that one of the other things that Tyson, we might touch on, which is, that is something that's missing at St. George's, is the idea of running a business, which a ton of St. George's families do, and finance, right? Like, I don't think, for the most part, Hayes, Professor Hayes, or I guess he's gone now, Josh Hayes, is one of the only people that touched on anything with finance. And like, when you leave St. George's, a lot of times, no offense to everyone there, including myself, you're pretty insulated from some of the real world, like actual issues of managing a checkbook, or, paying your student loans, or understanding the compounding interest that you have, even though you've taken advanced math, as like what happens with these student loans that you get. And it's kind of like monopoly money. And so I think that's kind of missed. So no, I didn't expect to be here. That's for sure.
Yeah, I guess I can go on that one next. Yeah, so I guess speaking purely from the accounting sense, it's definitely not like a sexy job title, if you will. It's, Ben Affleck made a movie about it for sure. It's where he's like a 007 secret agent, but it's really seen usually as like this nerdy, antisocial person. But really what I've experienced so far is accounting and business as a whole is a whole lot more than just the textbook knowledge. It's learning how to communicate with others. It's, there's a lot of social events and network building that needs to happen, especially if you want to pivot into some of the more niche industries that you want to get into. It's important to make those connections, and you're not in a better place than being at St. George's to kind of foster those initial connections, or even reach out to people who are connected on LinkedIn that went to St. George's, 10 years prior to you. Like, they all had a similar start to you, and like, you have all the resources at your disposal. So definitely use them to your advantage, and myself included. I'm always willing to talk to people if you have questions, but St. George's community is small and tight knit, and so definitely use that.
Yeah, kind of going off of what Matt said, I think networking is huge. And I think when I was in high school, I didn't utilize all of the resources we have at St. George's, and not just at St. George's, but like through college and now through like my first career job. It still amazes me how many people are so willing to like take 30 minutes or an hour out of their day to just talk to you. So if you're interested in like a field or a career or like a degree or anything like that, if you know somebody or even know somebody that can get you in touch with somebody else, like, people are so willing to talk to you and help you out. And yeah, networking can get you a lot of places. A lot of people I know are where they are because of reaching out and just kind of putting themselves out there. And it can be uncomfortable and kind of awkward, but the more you make it a habit, the easier it is, and it totally pays off.
And I would say I'm probably the odd one out, just because getting an MD, you know what you're getting into. That's like what all of med school is. So once you're in it, you know what your career is going to kind of look like. There's variety and stuff, but I think the more important thing is, before you apply to med school, understand what you're going to be doing. Understand that it's a long training process. Like, by the time I'm done training, so I'll do residency, and then I do a chief resident year, and then I'm going to do a 3-year fellowship type of thing. So that'll be like over 10 years of training after like starting my MD. So just get a sense, like, if you're interested in medicine, get a sense of like what it's like day to day. Talk to people, talk to, parents that are doctors at St. George's, and get some like experience in healthcare, like do scribe work or something, and figure out, because there's some people that get into med school and then like in their third year, like, I absolutely don't want to do this, and then have to drop out and then have a ton of debt. So, but yeah, use your connections. People love talking about themselves, so don't be scared to ask people for advice.
Thank you. So when you look at how you got here now, what would be some things you would recommend to current high schoolers, or as they go into college, what would you recommend them do in the summer during the school year?
One thing, the IB program, in high school, I thought like, oh, just throw on some HLs, like, it sounds cool, I'll do it. No, it totally paid off. It took off like a whole semester, so I could graduate in 3.5 years. And if I could go back, I probably would have taken more HLs, because they kind of like take out those core classes that everybody's going to have to take when they get to school. And so not only is it like a huge money saver, but it's a time saver. And yeah, I would recommend that. And then also just kind of like going back to that networking, you have so many resources at the high school and so many like opportunities and programs that it's like, just put yourself out there, even though you're going to be uncomfortable sometimes. Like, just try to experience as much as you can and learn as much as you can, because it's just going to like help you in the long run.
I'll make Matt go next.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the things that's really helped me, just looking back on my time since St. George's, is like all of the experience I had with the outdoor program, taking part in sports. Yeah, just these experiences that not everyone has the ability to take part in at other schools. I guess more specific, like the outdoor club program, but I really think that having these experiences that St. George's offers has really given me a really well-rounded approach to, I don't know, just my own experience with life, and you know, sharing my story with, you know, through networking or just making friends in college. Doesn't have to always be so serious as trying to, you know, network for job purposes, but just in life when you meet people in college. It's really nice to have those commonalities, or to try and find a common ground, or try to find something interesting to talk about when you have these experiences that St. George's offers. Taylor, I know you did some of the outdoor club program stuff with me, but yeah, I think just looking back, that's something that not a lot of schools get to take part in. And so if you can at all, I definitely recommend doing stuff like that. Yeah.
I can go, Tyson.
Sounds good.
I think a couple of the things that panelists have said are really important to jump off of, which is trying things out is one of the most important things. And I think, you know, I did a lab my junior year for chemical engineering, and I had to go in at 3 a.m. and like go spin a centrifuge and sit by myself in the dark with these like E. coli cells and stuff. And I was like, I know now I do not want to do this. And some of it is process of elimination, like getting experience. And also, you know, before I went to college, I did like a job shadow with a couple of people, including Dr. Muehlheim's. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. So that experience of being out there with the connections of the people you know, to be able to see things that you want to do or not, are so important. And especially if you want to go into law, it's not as sexy as you see on TV, right? There is not suits going on. It is not like that at all. And a lot of times you really need to do the research to figure out if it's something you actually like to do, because there's a very big bimodal distribution for income and pay. And so a ton of people go to law school and they pay for, you know, $400,000 at some school, or $240,000, and they're going to get paid $70,000. If you go do any math on that, you're not going to make your payment, and you might not ever pay off your debt. And so you have to actually know what you want to do, and like maybe go intern at a law office, be a legal assistant, do something like that to see if it's something you want to do. And that's true of any field, right? If you want to go into engineering, you really need to go work at an engineering firm and find out if this is what you like to do, because a lot of people keep pushing STEM, which is great for the pay and a lot of things you do. But at the end of the day, if you actually go sit in it and the job that you're wanting to do doesn't actually conform with like what you're interested in, it's not fun. And also, like Matt, maybe there's a lot of different jobs within that major, right? So if you do accounting, you don't have to go to a public accounting firm, right? There's other options. And I think that's the other part, is to figure out if there's something else in that area that you like to do.
Yeah, and then for me, in terms of what you could start doing to prepare yourself to potentially be in this career, like has been said previously, like get some experience in it, like work as a medical scribe, which you can do in college or even like late high school. You can shadow physicians, you can volunteer in like emergency departments. But as in terms of like any like single major or anything like that for medicine, it's like not one like cookie cutter fits all type of thing. You're actually probably more interesting if you like do a major that you're interested in addition to doing like medicine prereqs. So I have some classmates that were like art history majors or something. And then you do need volunteer experience. So it's better to get it early, but I would volunteer in something that you like care about. Like I volunteered with World Relief, the refugee organization in Spokane, just like helping like resettle refugees and helping them like navigate the healthcare like insurance system. And I argue that that's more interesting than just like volunteering in like an emergency department type of thing. So there's lots of things you can do, and you should do stuff that you like, because then when you like interview for med schools, people are going to know that you're like really passionate about those things and you're not just like checking boxes off type of thing.
Thanks, Alicia. All right, so opening it back up to all four of you again, what's your favorite and least favorite thing about your job? We'll have Alicia go because she looks like she has something on her mind.
I'm just laughing. My least favorite thing is that I get called in when I'm not expected to get called in, which is why I'm like running around. But I don't know. I think the least favorite thing is probably the amount of hours you have to do when you're training. Once I'm an attending, that'll be different. But like for surgery, like the hours are never going to be different. You're going to be like waking up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. every day. Also, I think just like that medicine has a huge hierarchy, and that's like not amazing. It can be pretty toxic. The culture's changing a bit. But I think my favorite thing about this career is honestly the rest of it. Like it's really cool to be able to take care of sick people and like change, their lives, their families' lives, like offer just like great medical care for them. And it's really cool to think about clinical problems that are complicated. Like myself, I'm interested in critical care. So I really enjoy like really complex thinking. And if you have the right like mind for it, it can be super, super fun.
Thanks, Alicia. How about you, Taylor?
Gosh, well, so I guess my favorite thing is working in sales. There's a lot of like, it's very relationship focused. And so there's a lot of events and a lot of traveling and a lot of like getting out of the office, talking to people, meeting people. And I knew out of college that I was like, I'm pretty young. I want to keep traveling. And so it allows me to have like that fun lifestyle. And it also, I know there's some careers where it's not very easy to like take the time off that you need to, but my job makes it super accommodating. And so it's just very flexible and very social. And coming out of engineering, I was like, I don't want to go sit in a design firm and just on my computer CAD all day. So I really like that it's a very personable, like relationship focused job. I think what I dislike most about it, not much. I mean, there's some days that are going to be a little bit monotonous and I'm answering questions and I'm like, oh my goodness, you should probably know this. But other than that, I really like it. It gives me a lot of freedom and I feel like I'm surrounded by opportunities. So I don't have a ton to complain about. But I'll remind you, I'm like 3 months in, so.
We'll check in 6.
Yeah.
Matt, how about you? Favorite and least favorite thing?
Yeah. I think just given that I really enjoy like just being outside, doing things active and whatnot. It's sometimes hard to be at a desk all day. And I think though that a lot of businesses are trying to really focus on trying to make a work-life balance something that's attainable for everyone. And I've seen that at my most recent job. And so, well, that might not be the case at whatever job you get out of college. It might be kind of a grind when you start. It might not, but it might be. I think that's something that you can always hold high in your next job that you get, that you really want to make sure that you prioritize the things that you care about. And they're most likely, in business at least, is a company that values that as well. So there's a selection on both sides. They're not just selecting you. You should be able to have some sort of autonomy in that decision. But it's not all bad. I will say that I really like the relationship building that I get with just meeting people and in business and learning other parts of the company in finance and marketing. It's really interesting to hear how Netflix runs as a whole and build those relationships. So yeah.
Thank you, Matt. And Mark?
I guess there's a couple things. I think the best and worst thing about my job is the people. It's both the best thing and the worst thing. There's some people that are really just terrible to deal with, unfortunately, in my line of work. I do a lot of divorces, family law, child custody cases. It also is part of the best thing, which is helping people, helping children, helping families. And so there's a lot of things that are really great about that. And that's part of the reason I love it, is I make an impact just about every day on families, and you can really see that impact pretty quickly. Some of the other negatives are actually the hours. If you really want to be a successful attorney, The hours can be pretty terrible, and also the schedule. We're at the mercy of the court. So my kid was 5 days old, and the court told me I personally am going to be there. I'm going to get thrown in jail. So I told them I was unavailable, and the court told me I'm going to be available. So there are things like that that made me very bitter about my profession. And I think that it's still kind of like old school where it's like, I could zoom in. No, you're going to be there in person. Oh, all right. Well, I'll be there. And then, some of the things that are great are if you like sports and you're competitive from my area of the law, I don't think there's anything better. I'm in court all the time. And for me, there's a lot of times you get wins and it's like you're back on, the soccer field, or you're in a basketball court and you're winning. So for some people, getting those daily wins where you're battling with somebody else and you're going, mind to mind, almost like some people used to do debate or whatever it was. That's really a great feeling on top of all the other things, which is, my main thing is to help people. So that's what I like.
Thank you, Mark. All right, 2 questions for you guys, and then we'll open it up to the audience. When you look back on St. George's, what's one of your favorite memories?
I would tie a lot of my favorite memories probably to the outdoor club. Kind of like what Matt was saying, there are some experiences there that after high school, like meeting people in college, and even now in my career, I'll tell them about some of the trips. I went on the Bob Marshall hiking trip through Montana. I'll tell people about that so casually, and they're like, your high school offered something like that? I'm like, yeah, it's so cool. And going to Smith Rocks and having the climbing gym that you could go to. I think those are very underrated. And I think at least for me, once I left St. George's and people were always like, that's crazy. I was like, is it? I thought it was normal. But I would probably say the outdoor program played a lot of a part in my favorites.
How about you, Alicia? Or Matt? I don't care. Either or.
Sure. Yeah. I'll plus one to that. And then I'll also say I was on the boys soccer team and we won state my senior year. Finally, after having made it to the state tournament 3 years in a row or something, we finally got one. So that was a lot of fun to celebrate. But certainly all the sports at St. George's.
Yeah,
I'll go.
You go, Mark. You go.
Alicia knows, and I just was at the Hall of Fame, and it makes me so bitter that I got second, third for soccer. I don't think I'll ever live that down, that I never won a state championship for soccer. And then I hear these other teams roll in with Heidi. Won't say who our coach was. Maybe it was a impediment to us getting there. But that was some of my fondest memories, is riding the soccer bus, or going to these far games and playing in the snow. I think some of those are some of my fondest memories. And I think I also have some really fond memories from some of my best friends that I'm still best friends with today. And I think Obi or somebody posted something about a senior prank that happened at St. George's. And I thought after our year we ruined it and they canceled that. But something like that sticks out to me as a pretty big deal. We did an individual prank for every room, for every teacher. They had something different. And after that, was a no-go. You had to kind of let them go. And we had we had left the senior lounge window open, climbed up the roof, went in and let ourselves in, and we caused absolute chaos. So something like that is one of my greatest memories from St. George's, I think. And, I definitely unplugged a lot of internal parts on people's computers. They had weeks before they could get these computers back going. I know Chad did not get a new computer for a week and a half. He was not happy.
I forgot about the senior lounge. That's so cute. That's so many memories. But a lot of my memories were sports based. I echo Mark. I played soccer with Mark. We never won state, whatever. Same for basketball. But yeah, it's pretty unique. You get to know a lot of people really well, and I think that's really amazing. And I still remember, Mark said, going on the super long bus rides up to I don't even remember, Northport or Wellpinnet or etc. Those are some pretty cool experiences that not a lot of people get. So.
Thank you. And final question to all 4 of you until we open it up. What's one thing that you would tell your high school self now?
I'll start. I think this is something that I think you will never understand. And everyone always says that, all these adults, like, oh, you don't know everything. You don't know everything. When I was in high school, you can ask Alicia, you could ask some of those teachers that are sitting in the audience. I thought I knew everything. Okay. You really don't actually know everything, but you might actually know a lot. And the other thing you realize from that is when you leave St. George's, to be honest, I don't think you get the feel for how smart everyone is at St. George's. Even if you think you're the lowest of your class, you are really top tier when it comes to being compared to the general population. And I think that kind of gets lost sometimes being at St. George's. And what you actually see is when you reflect back on the rest of your class, you're like, holy moly, we had so many great people that were unique in their own way, and they're all very smart. And until you go out there and see these other people and you're like, wow, St. George's people are ready for college. And St. George's people have different aspects of themselves that I think that kind of gets missed. And so I would tell you that even if you're the person that's, 50th out of 50 in your class, you're a smart person. If you're going to St. George's and you're not failing out, you are smart and you're going to be successful. And I think sometimes that does get lost because you do the comparison thing. And so many of those people that were in my class that were not the best in the grades are doing excellent now, and they're excelling at the thing they like to do. And that has to do with the school and all that stuff. But I think it gets lost in St. George's. So don't think that, St. George's being the top of the class there is what defines you. So many people from your class are going to be successful.
How about you, Matt? Sorry, I keep muting myself.
You're good. Yeah, I'd say that just don't feel so locked in when you ultimately decide on a school and a major, and it feels like a massive decision. And to some extent it is where you start out and whatnot, but it's, you've heard from all of us, it's not always, you don't have to feel so locked into what you initially choose. There's a lot of pivoting that's done in the short experience that I have in the working world. And so I can only imagine how much there is to come. But yeah, just, also take time to enjoy the college experience. It's not all about the job and whatnot. I mean, it certainly is a lot of why we're going to a private school and whatnot, but it's also about the experience of going to college and building the friendships and relationships you have there.
Taylor?
Yeah, I think kind of tying into what they both said, like, I guess you don't have to know 100% what you want to do. I obviously didn't. I don't think anyone on this panel really did, but just acknowledge that there's like a million opportunities out there and there's never going to be one right choice. And so it's like, don't be afraid to try new things. Learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable and like push yourself, but also remember that like a lot of people think life is an accumulation of like the big decisions you make, but I feel like in the past couple of years I've learned it's a lot of like an accumulation of all of the small choices. So as long as you kind of stay ambitious, stay hardworking, things will work out. Definitely not the way you think they're going to right now, but just like stay positive and try to not get tunnel vision, because again, there's like a million opportunities, and like every day I learn something new, or I listen to somebody else's life story and I'm like, that is crazy. I never would have even considered that possibility. And then like if you had asked me 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't have moved across the country. But it's just like you got to keep your eyes open for all the opportunities and don't be afraid.
Thanks, Taylor. And Alicia?
I echo that. I would say kind of what everyone else has said, but at St. George's, you have like a pretty unique environment to try as many things as you want. And I think that's what I wish I had done more of when I was there. I was like very locked into just being like, I'm an athlete and that's what I'm doing here, and I'm going to go to a good college and that's it. But like, I wish I had tried other things like robotics club or something, you know what I mean? You should just test the waters. It's a very like low pressure environment to do so, and like everyone's so accommodating and welcoming. But yeah, and then just don't take yourself too seriously. I would say it's easy to in a really highly competitive environment like St. George's is, but you're all going to do great. Just like Mark said, everyone's incredibly, incredibly intelligent. I was probably like middle of my class or something. I don't know. So you can do whatever you want.
Thank you, Alicia. At this point, I'm going to open up. Anyone have any questions for the panelists? Any questions at all? I can make Nathan or Happy have to just randomly call on people. Yeah, oh, even better. Yeah, do you have a question, Nathan? Perfect. Matt, so the question is, what was your entry point kind of connection into Netflix? And what was the second part? What made you suitable for that role over there?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, is very fitting with the Alumni Association, is that I actually reached out to someone after getting kind of tired of my current job that I had at the time in public accounting. So I reached out to someone through St. George's. Actually, she was in the class above me. I actually didn't really know her personally, but I mean, we saw each other. Her name is Nicole, and so I saw that she was working at Netflix, and I saw there's a job opening. So why not, reach out to her and just see if there's any chance that you can refer me to a position. We go to a small, or at least we went to the same small school in Spokane, and so she ended up submitting my resume for the position, and that ended up, to whatever extent it was, into a first interview, and then I think I had like literally 10 interviews after that. It was a long process, but nonetheless, point being is that I reached out to someone that I didn't even know at St. George's personally, and they were more than willing to help and join multiple phone calls with me to help me prepare. So that's just a testament to what this school has to offer. I mean, if that's not headline, then I don't know what is. Like, certainly reach out into this network that you're a part of and use it to your advantage, and people are more than willing to help. And remind me what the second part of that is, Tyson.
And what made you feel suitable for that job?
Yeah. Okay. So, I had about 3 years of work experience prior to joining this job. I definitely understand accounting. I've got a master's in it. I've got a CPA, but to a certain extent, that I didn't work in any sort of like film or production accounting, which is a very niche form of accounting. So, I had background, but I wasn't completely qualified. And so I think, leaning into those areas, you don't need to be completely qualified for everything you try. It's all about trying. And if you don't put your name out there, you'll never know if you get something. And so, just kind of lean into that. I didn't have all the qualifications, but.
Tyson, I would just point out, I think something that doesn't get relayed a lot, especially in high school, is that maybe 60 to 80% of the jobs that you get are from people that you know, or referrals or network, right? And that's not something I really heard much at St. George's, is that it's actually know who you know, right? They get you foot in the door, or they just straight out hire you. There's a lot of positions that get posted. You don't find out till later. They're not really posted. They're actually posted to check the box for HR or something else, and they already have the person they're going to pick because you're friends with that person, or your boss listened to you and they're going to hire your friend. And so Matt's story is like awesome, but it also really speaks to the fact that a lot of jobs you get are from people you know, and you have to be qualified, right? You can't be unqualified to get a job, but really networking and knowing these people and putting yourself out there is how you get jobs. And especially when you switch companies, I think that's the biggest thing, is this new generation switches companies way more. Knowing people is how you're going to get jobs. I mean, there's so many people applying to the same position. You might get 100 applicants. For our legal assistant job, we had 250 people. How do you sort through that? Well, it's really who you know.
Totally. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. What's the next question, Nathan? How soon should these students be thinking about getting a LinkedIn account?
Matt, do you think LinkedIn's useful, or Taylor? Like, for my generation, I feel like it's literally used so that you can just check on other people. But I know below me, it's super important, and recruiters, that's how they find people too, is on LinkedIn.
I use LinkedIn. That's actually how I found this job. And now when I am doing research on people in the company that I want to meet with and just learn more about their segment, I'll find them on LinkedIn and add them, and then I'll throw something on their calendar. And I use it as a good connection for like in my company, but I know a lot of people who keep up to date as if it's like a social media, and I think it's just another good way of like keeping your name out there. I will say though, I didn't really touch it until like sophomore year of college, but I think I had one in high school. I just didn't utilize it very much until like early college.
I
Matt or Alicia?
slid into a lot of LinkedIn DMs for sure. That actually was like, I mean, I probably sent like 50 some messages to people at companies just wanting to connect with them, have a quick phone call, and usually they would refer me to a job or keep my name in mind when the job would come up. And yeah, then your name's just at the top of the pile when there's 250 applicants. It's like, just, I don't know about when to your question, but certainly when you start getting, accumulating job experience that's relevant for your first job, I mean, just throw it on a LinkedIn profile and get it started.
Alicia, any thoughts?
Yeah, for medicine, it's like the most irrelevant thing in the world. Like, I just opened my LinkedIn today. Actually, this is funny. And I had like 15 messages from just like robot recruiters about like nothing. Like, medicine's old school, and it's like I am physically like holding like a pager, like old school type of thing. So a lot of like our networking happens at like through like number one, your research mentors, like once you're, well, in med school too, but in residency, and then at like national conferences. So like one of my research mentors, she did her training at Hopkins, and we're going to like this national thoracic conference like in a week or so. And she was like I'm thinking about applying to fellowships and things like that. And it's kind of like who you know, as how you like get your foot in the door for an interview. And she was like, okay, yeah, you'll come to the Hopkins party with me. You'll just tell me which program directors you want to be introduced to. I know like all these people in the nation, because medicine's like a pretty small world once you like get into it. So yeah, LinkedIn irrelevant. But if you don't know you're gonna be a doctor, then maybe it's good to have one. I don't know.
Any other questions? Yeah, Jamie. Totally. So Jamie's question was, can you give a little bit more detail on your college search, what you guys were looking for in those colleges, and would you go back? Maybe let's stick with undergrad. That might be easiest for some of you.
I'm going to answer this first because I got to run to court, Tyson. But so one thing Dr. Muehlheim's told me, and this actually made me transfer, is you should be thinking about where you want to live and where you want to be. What do you like? Do you like the outdoors? Do you like the East Coast? And I found out I do not like the East Coast. So for my first year, all I cared about is doing chemical engineering and going to the best school that I got into, which was RPI. That was a terrible choice. That was a high school move, and that's something you should really think about. Is I just picked the best school I got into, and they gave me money, and it was a horrible decision. So I transferred to the University of Washington and finished out there because that really resonated with me. Where does my family live? Where do I want to live and be is important. So I went back to the University of Washington. And so the college search originally, though, I applied to like a bazillion schools. I feel like when those Common App was big, and I thought I was going to get into some of these other schools. And I didn't get some scholarships at one of the ones I wanted to, but I applied to literally every school under the sun. And that is the one detriment, I guess, of St. George's, is that we had such a small class and competitive class. We had people transfer out in high school to other schools so they could apply to schools and not be St. George's on their resume, right? Because there was 3 of us that applied to Harvey Mudd, for example. And one of us got in, one of us got waitlisted, and one of us got denied. The kid that got denied had a 1600 on the SAT and really good grades. And you're like, that's crazy. And so, yeah, you got to be really selective, but I think it starts with figuring out a school where you actually want to live, or if you go to a certain city, you're not locked in, but like if you go to LA, you might want to be thinking about whether you want to work in LA or live on the West Coast, right? If you go to school in DC, you're making connections there, and you maybe want to be working at a job there. You want to know if you actually want to live there long term. You're not stuck for sure, but it's certainly something to think about.
Thank you, Mark. And if you need to run, go ahead. Have fun court.
I can go next if you want.
Perfect. Let's go, Alicia.
So when I was looking, so Mark is right. You should think about like location you want to be in and like where you want to grow a career and whatnot. If when I was looking for colleges, I knew I wanted to go to a smaller school. Didn't have to be like an Ivy League or anything like that. I just knew that I needed a smaller environment to thrive in. Like University of Washington would have been like way too large for me. I feel like I would have drowned there and not really found myself. And so that's kind of what I targeted. So like Puget Sound is like a 2,500 person school. But also when you're looking for schools, you should think about like if you have any semblance of like a career in mind, you should look for schools that successfully send people into those careers. So like if you're seriously considering a career as a physician, you should look at schools that help you get to that place. So like Carroll College in Helena, Montana is like huge for that. I just read like University of Montana sends, like they have like the highest like rate of sending people to med school successfully type of thing. So I would think of that, but I would think about like location, size, what do you really want to do? Like, what do you really want to get out of it type of thing.
Thank you, Alicia. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I took part in a lot of the college visits that St. George's did, even for May term. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but it really helped me like make an informed decision when I came to that end of the senior year to choose which school I wanted to go to. But also kind of along the lines of what Alicia said, like, you know, just as an example, Nike's headquartered in Portland. And so I know for a fact that University of Portland and University of Oregon are like two of the top undergraduate institutions that have students hired into Nike. You don't need to go to Harvard to work at one of these massive corporations. There's plenty of people, and I would say a larger amount of people from these local schools that are near the headquarters. And so I'm not saying you need to know what company you want to work for, but if you can have some general sense of like the types of companies that are hiring or feeding into those programs that you're interested in, it's certainly, they get a leg up in those situations.
Thanks, Matt. Taylor.
Yeah, I guess so. Like I said earlier, I went to WSU, so Washington State, and I remember when I was applying for colleges, I was like, this is the last place I want to go. This is so close to home. I want to go travel. I want to be on a beach somewhere. And so I applied to schools in Washington, but I applied to almost every single UC school because I was like, I'm going to be on a beach. And when it came down to like decision time, I remember I got into UCLA and I wanted to go so bad. And I was like, this is such a hard school to get into. Like, I should go. And I had to sit down with my parents and they were like, that is a really good school. Sounds awesome. If you want to go, you should totally go. But if you're getting a degree like mechanical engineering, it's a very kind of like equal on many planes. Like there's some schools that might stand out a little bit more than others, but it's more so what you do in college. Like, did you do internships? Did you TA for any of your professors? Did you work in labs? That speaks a lot louder than like the name of the university. And so at the end of the day, it just made more sense financially. And I was bummed about it. I wanted to be on a beach really bad. But looking back, I'm so glad I made that choice because WC was a really good school. I got the degree I wanted. And like I said, again, it's very dependent on degree too. So kind of like what Alicia was saying, like if you're going into the medical field, then there are going to be some schools that are better than other schools. But I feel like engineering can be pretty transferable. And so ultimately I was happy with it, but I will say it was a very, very tough choice. But 4 years later, it kind of let me be able to, now I can go live on a beach somewhere. I'll go find a beach. That'll be my next job.
Awesome. Am I at time, I think? Okay, I'm at time. Everyone, please thank Alicia, Matt, and Taylor, and Mark Duari's off. But
Thanks for putting this together, Tyson.
Thanks so much,
Yeah,
you guys. Really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Diligence.
Have a good day.